So here we have a hospital who wants to create a survey to check how many patients are carrying the virus. So if the patient has a fever and a dry cough, then the hospital will assume that they test positive for a virus. Now, what they want to do is they need to ask the user to input how many patients are taking the test. So firstly, we need to ask for the number of patients. But before that, because we're counting, we're doing a bit of counts, so we're counting how many patients are testing positives and how many patients are testing negative, and how many patients have a mild condition and how many patients have severe condition. We need to create 4 variables for each one, and we set it to 0. Then we ask the user for the number of patients. Once we've done that, we need to create a for loop that loops that number of times. For example, if they enter 10, we're going to loop 10 times. So we need a for loop for that. Then we need to ask them if, do you have a fever? Yes or no. And then, do you have a cough? Yes or no. So we have to ask these 2 questions. Then what we can do is we need to create an if statement. So if the fever is equal to yes and the cough is equal to yes, so both of them needs to be true. As long as both of them is true, then we go inside this if statement. So what we need to do inside this if statement is we need to first tell them that they've tested positive for the virus. So we give them the good news, obviously. Then once that happens, we need to add 1 to positive. So we need to add 1 to the positive side. So positive variable. Once we've done that, we need to also ask them for their symptoms. So we need to say, do you have a mild or severe symptoms? Now, once we've done that, we need to use another if statement. So this is an if statement inside another one, because we're not going to ask them for symptoms if they tested negative for the virus. There's no point. So if the symptoms are mild, we're going to add 1 to mild. Otherwise, we need to add 1 to severe. So if it's not mild, then it has to be severe. Okay, once we've done with that, we go back to the same line as the other if statement. So we're still inside the for loop, but we remove the indentation. So we go back slightly so it matches this if statement right at the top. So it needs to be on the same line, because now we're finishing the original if statement, not the inner one. We're finishing the outer if statement. So obviously, if they did not test positive, then they must have tested negative. So they tested negative for the virus. And now we also need to add 1 to negative. Once we've done that, the question also asked us to display how many patients tested positives, and how many tested negatives, and how many patients have mild conditions, and how many patients have severe conditions. So we need to display positives, negatives, mild, and severe. And that's our program.